Dr. Kiara Solis stood in the heart of the Terra Initiative's underground lab, the hum of machinery filling the air like a quiet promise. Outside, Earth was a planet scarred by centuries of environmental collapse and political turmoil. But here, beneath the surface, hope was being born anew. Kiara was no ordinary scientist. She had always been driven by a single, audacious goal: to unlock humanity's true potential. And she believed, more than anything, that the key to humanity's future lay beyond the stars. Kiara's most ambitious creation was the Nexus, a machine that could fold space-time itself, allowing instantaneous travel across galaxies. For years, humanity's efforts to conquer the stars had been stymied by the limits of current space travel. Ships could barely reach the nearest planets within a human lifetime, let alone venture beyond the Milky Way. The idea of bending space itself to create shortcuts between distant points had been considered impossible, even laughable. But Kiara was not one to accept the impossible. She believed that if humanity was ever going to evolve beyond Earth, they would need to break free of their physical limitations. She dreamed of a future where humans would not only reach distant stars, but shape their own fate. The Nexus was the answer, her answer. It was designed to harness quantum mechanics and warp space-time in a controlled manner, creating bridges to other galaxies. If successful, it would change everything. Yet, Kiara's vision was not one shared by everyone. Most of the scientific community ridiculed the idea. Leading physicists across the galaxy argued that attempting to fold space-time was not just impractical, it was dangerous. The energy required could tear the very fabric of reality itself. Worse, there was no guarantee that such a device could be safely controlled. No one had ever seen anything like it. The risks outweighed the potential rewards, they argued. But Kiara was driven by more than just logic. She had always believed that humanity's greatest strength lay in its ability to defy expectation. The challenges and limitations of the world only fueled her determination. She had seen Earth descend into chaos, and she knew that humanity needed to change, to evolve, or it would continue to destroy itself. The Terra Initiative was born out of this conviction, a coalition of scientists, engineers, and political leaders who believed in the same bold vision. Despite the challenges, Kiara had found enough support to begin construction on the Nexus. Hidden from the prying eyes of the rest of the world, she built it in secrecy, gathering the best minds to help her refine the machine. Her resources were limited, but she was certain that the project would work. As the final phase of construction approached, Kiara's excitement grew. The Nexus was ready. The day had finally come. With bated breath, she and her team of scientists prepared for the first trial. Would the machine actually work? Or would it be another failed attempt at defying the laws of nature? But just as they were about to begin the experiment, something unexpected happened. A transmission came through the lab's communication system. It was a signal, unlike any they had ever received. The coordinates pinpointed a far-off galaxy, one that was completely uncharted. The message, however, wasn't in any language known to humans. Kiara stood frozen, listening intently to the strange sequence of sounds, each tone vibrating with a foreign rhythm. She quickly activated a universal translator, and the message began to unravel. "Humanity," the voice began, its words slow and deliberate. "You are on the verge of awakening something that should not be awakened. We, the architects of the cosmos, have foreseen your future. You will attempt the impossible, the folding of space-time. Know this, your actions will not go unnoticed. The balance of the universe is fragile. The risks you take will shape the course of existence itself. Prove your worth. Prove that you are more than just survivors." Kiara's breath caught in her throat. The message wasn't a warning. It was a challenge. It wasn't sent from a human or a known species. It came from somewhere far more ancient. The architects spoke of being the creators of the very laws of space-time, the laws Kiara had been working to bend. But what struck Kiara the most was the final sentence, "Prove your worth." For a moment, Kiara stood in stunned silence. This transmission was unlike anything she had ever encountered. The idea that humanity could be under observation by a race of beings who had shaped the fabric of the universe itself was both humbling and terrifying. But there was something else, something that gnawed at her. If these architects had been watching humanity all along, then they must have known that her work on the Nexus was nearing completion. They were aware of her project, and they wanted to see if humanity could defy the impossible. Kiera's mind raced. This was it. The Nexus wasn't just a means to travel the stars, it was a test. A test to see if humanity could transcend its limitations. She didn't know who the architects were or why they had chosen to communicate with her now, but she knew one thing for sure. She had to succeed. It was no longer about simply exploring the cosmos. It was about proving that humanity could rise above the constraints that had held it back for so long. The universe was watching, and this was humanity's moment to show that they were worthy of more. With trembling hands, Kiera activated the Nexus. The hum of the machine began to reverberate through the lab, growing louder, more intense. The air crackled with energy as the very fabric of space-time began to fold in on itself. And in that moment, Kiera knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The challenge had begun. The day the Nexus was activated, the world held its breath. Kiera Solis, standing at the heart of the command center, watched in awe as the machine whirred to life. For the first time in human history, space was bent. Space-time folded, and in an instant, the first human-made jump through the cosmos occurred. A flash of brilliant light, and the Nexus had done what was once thought impossible. But instead of the controlled jump that Kiera had envisioned, things quickly spiraled out of control. The first jump completed. Earth's skies began to shimmer with strange cosmic ripples. Kiera, still standing at the console, gasped as a horrifying sight unfolded above her. The once stable atmosphere of Earth began to warp, like a picture frame slowly being pulled out of shape. The air itself seemed to hum with an unfamiliar, otherworldly energy. Around the planet, clusters of light appeared and disappeared, like rips in the very fabric of reality. Kiera's hands shook as she watched the readings on the console go haywire. The Nexus had folded space-time, yes, but it had also torn it. Rips in reality, like cracks in a fragile glass pane, started to appear. Distorted, sentient forces, fragments of the ancient beings that had once created the laws of the universe, began to slip through the rips, spilling into Earth's reality. What did we do? Kiera whispered to herself, her voice barely audible over the growing noise of the machine. A warning light blinked furiously. The Nexus was still functioning, but its output was becoming more chaotic by the second. She had crossed a line, humanity had crossed a line, and there was no going back now. The machine, which was meant to be humanity's great leap into the stars, had instead become a wound in the very fabric of existence. As the days passed, Earth's environment became an unpredictable mess of anomalies. The laws of physics, once solid and dependable, began to lose their grip on reality. Deserts, once confined to the dry, barren places of Earth, now appeared in the middle of the oceans. Entire cities flickered in and out of existence, like mirages that briefly solidified only to dissolve back into the ether. Time itself began to behave unpredictably. One moment, entire hours would pass in the blink of an eye. In another, seconds would stretch into what felt like an eternity. Kiera had never seen anything like it. The world that had once been so stable was now a chaotic, shifting nightmare. All across the planet, scientists scrambled to understand what was happening. No one could make sense of the phenomena. But Kiera knew. She was the one who had made the decision to activate the Nexus. The responsibility weighed on her more than she ever imagined. And then came the message. The same ancient beings who had sent the cryptic challenge to humanity now made their presence known in a much more direct way. They appeared as human figures, but their eyes glowed with a faint, unnatural light. Their voices rang in Kiera's mind, speaking in riddles, as if trying to communicate a truth far beyond human comprehension. "You have disturbed the natural order," they said. "Humanity was never meant to wield this power. You have opened a door that cannot be closed. Now, you must choose." The words sent a chill down Kiera's spine. The beings were not angry. They were not threatening. They were simply stating facts, as though the devastation unfolding around her was a consequence they had already anticipated. The message continued. Humanity has two choices: conform to the laws of the universe, or face annihilation. Kira's world was crumbling around her. The Nexus, once a dream, was now humanity's greatest curse. She had created a device capable of reshaping the fabric of the universe. But in doing so, she had proven that humanity was not ready. The ancient creators had seen this coming, and now they were forcing her to make a choice. The worst part? Kiara wasn't the only one interested in the Nexus anymore. The galactic political landscape had already begun to shift. Word of humanity's newfound power spread quickly through the stars, and not all of the galaxy's leaders were thrilled. The Elder Council, a powerful galactic coalition made up of several highly advanced species, learned of the Nexus's existence. Some factions were afraid of what it could do and wanted it destroyed, fearing the chaos it could spread throughout the universe. They argued that humanity was too reckless, and that a species this young and unstable shouldn't be allowed to play with the fundamental forces of the universe. But others saw an opportunity. To them, the Nexus was a tool, a weapon, a way to seize control of the universe itself. If humanity could manipulate space-time, then it could be used to dominate other races, control trade routes, and rewrite history itself. The factions within the Elder Council began to divide. Some clamored for its destruction, others for its control. And Kiara found herself caught in the middle of a brewing galactic conflict. The peace and order of the galaxy was at risk, and it was all because of her machine. Back on Earth, Kiara's team worked frantically to find a solution, but every attempt only seemed to worsen the situation. The Nexus's instability was growing, and no one knew how to stop it. The world was on the brink of collapse. Cities were being torn apart by reality itself as the fabric of space-time stretched further and further. Kiara knew that she had two choices: destroy the Nexus and seal humanity off from the rest of the galaxy, forever condemning them to a life of isolation and stagnation, or risk everything to push forward. But what would be the cost? The Nexus could change the course of the galaxy. Humanity could control the universe, reshape the very laws that governed existence. But if they pushed forward, the dangers were unimaginable. Could they truly handle the responsibility? Kiara's mind raced as she struggled with the weight of her decision. She had always believed in humanity's potential, but now she wasn't so sure. Was humanity ready to bear the burden of the universe's most powerful tool? Or had she doomed them all? The answers seemed distant, elusive, but one thing was certain: time was running out. The days following the strange cosmic disturbances were like nothing Kiara Solis had ever experienced. Earth was no longer the planet she had once known. The environment was in a constant state of flux, and time itself was a merciless beast, shifting from one moment to the next without any logical progression. Kiara had worked tirelessly, trying to contain the rift, trying to understand it, but with each passing day, the power of the Nexus grew more uncontrollable. She couldn't escape the guilt gnawing at her. Humanity, with all its flaws, had never been meant to wield such power. She had made a choice, perhaps a fatal one, when she activated the Nexus. And now, Earth teetered on the edge of destruction, as if the very universe itself was punishing her for her hubris. The machine hummed like a living entity, as though it could feel the impending consequences of its own existence. It beckoned her, its raw energy surging with untapped potential. And in that moment, Kiara knew what she had to do. The weight of responsibility crushed her like 1,000 stars pressing down on her chest. She had already sacrificed so much: her reputation, her career, her faith in science, and yet she was still standing on the precipice, staring into the abyss of uncertainty. But the realization came to her with a quiet intensity: to save Earth, to save humanity, she would have to sacrifice herself. Kiara made her choice. She walked toward the heart of the Nexus, her mind racing, her thoughts splintering under the overwhelming pressure. The Nexus was the source of the destruction, but it was also the key to the solution. There was only one way to restore balance, one way to stop the rift from spreading and tearing the universe apart. She had to break the very thing that humanity held most dear: the need for control. The Nexus, in its raw power, was not a tool to be wielded. It was a force to be embraced, a chaotic energy that could not be contained. With trembling hands, she activated the Nexus, pushing the limits of its capacity. The hum of the machine became a deafening roar, and the room around her seemed to collapse into a singular point of light. She could feel the energy surge through her, flowing into her body and then outward, rippling through the universe. She wasn't sure whether the tears streaming down her face were from fear or from the overwhelming sense of awe. Either way, it didn't matter. There was no turning back now. The power released from the Nexus triggered an explosion of light that could be seen across the entire planet. Earth's skies crackled with energy as the ripples from the rift expanded outward, cascading through the cosmos. The universe itself seemed to shudder under the force of the disruption. The laws of reality twisted and buckled, and galaxies trembled in the wake of the cosmic wave. Kiara felt herself pulled toward the center of the rift, her body straining against the force as it tried to tear apart the very fabric of space-time. And then, in the midst of the chaos, she saw them. The ancient creators. At first, they had appeared as distant figures, mysterious, aloof, their presence felt only in their cryptic messages. But now, they revealed themselves in their true form, not as gods or overseers, but as beings from an older dimension, beyond the limitations of time and space. Their forms shimmered with light, indescribable and ever-changing, as though they were made of the very fabric of reality itself. They were not here to destroy humanity. They were here to guide. Kiara's mind, already fractured by the sheer weight of the task she had undertaken, was now filled with a quiet clarity. The creators had not been trying to punish humanity. They had not wanted to wipe out Earth's existence or erase human potential. No, the truth was far more complex, far more profound. The creators had been testing humanity not for its survival, but for its ability to change, to reshape the universe. The test had never been about humanity's worth in the eyes of the universe. It had always been about whether humanity could challenge the old order. The Nexus had not been an accident, nor had it been a weapon. It had been a tool meant to break open the very foundations of reality itself, so that humanity could remake the universe. The creators had been waiting for humanity to reach this point, to prove that it could handle the chaos of space-time. They had hoped, beyond hope, that humanity could unlock the power to change the cosmos, not by destroying the order that governed it, but by reshaping it. The revelation hit Kiara like a flood of light. The weight of her sacrifice, the energy pouring out of the Nexus, was not a mistake. It was a catalyst. Humanity, flawed and imperfect as it was, had the power to rewrite the universe. The old rules no longer applied. Kiara's team, back at the command center, watched in stunned silence as the ripples from the rift altered the very foundation of existence. The universe no longer obeyed the laws they had once relied on. Space folded and stretched like a malleable substance. Time became fluid, moments bending and colliding into one another. Stars flickered in the distance, and new constellations appeared, as if the very map of the cosmos was being redrawn. The ancient creators who had watched over the universe for millennia had finally let go. They had released humanity from the constraints of the old order. The Nexus had become more than just a machine. It had become a symbol of humanity's potential to transcend the limits of space, time, and reality itself. But as the rift continued to expand, Kiara realized the full extent of the change. The creators had shown humanity the way, but the path ahead was unknown. There was no going back. The old universe was gone, replaced by a new reality, one where humanity had the power to shape the very fabric of existence. Kiara's body trembled, her consciousness barely hanging on, but her heart was filled with a quiet peace. She had done it. She had freed humanity from the chains of control. The test had been passed. Humanity was no longer confined by the laws of nature. It was free to rewrite the universe. In that moment, Kiara understood the true meaning of her sacrifice. It wasn't about saving the world. It was about transforming it. And as the rift continued to spread, Kiara embraced the unknown. The energy from the Nexus exploded outward, cascading in waves that rippled through the very structure of space-time itself. Kiara's body felt the reverberations like a pulse beneath her skin, as if the heart of the universe was beating in unison with her own. But the anticipated cataclysm did not come. Instead, the Nexus imploded, a quiet, infinite collapse that defied all expectations. What was once a machine designed to fold space-time became a source of unending energy, feeding directly into the fabric of the cosmos. The Nexus ceased to exist as a physical object, but its energy permeated every corner of existence, infusing the universe with the ability to bend and shift reality. The laws of physics no longer operated in the rigid manner they once had. Chaos and order intermingled, existing in a delicate balance that was never meant to be possible. Kira watched the transformation unfold before her eyes. The stars, once distant and cold, began to shift in strange, mesmerizing patterns. Time flowed in ways she could never predict. Some moments lasted forever, while others slipped by in the blink of an eye. Space itself seemed to warp and breathe, alive with the possibility of something new, something human. Humanity, which had once teetered on the edge of destruction, now stood at the precipice of an entirely new kind of existence. Earth was no longer confined by its fragile environment. Instead, humans had the ability to reach out into the vast unknown, not just to explore, but to reshape. The possibilities were infinite. There was no longer a universe of rigid boundaries or predetermined futures. The Nexus had unlocked something deep within humanity, a power not of destruction. And with it came a responsibility far greater than any had ever imagined. But with this newfound power came an equally significant challenge. The galaxy no longer had the structure it once had. The Elder Council, once a force of order and control, now found themselves forced to acknowledge humanity's unexpected leap forward. They had watched in silence as the ripples of Kiera's sacrifice spread throughout the cosmos. They had hoped to contain the chaos, to control the destructive force that was the Nexus. But instead, humanity had shattered their expectations and shown the universe something no one thought possible, that humanity was not merely a species to be managed. It was now a force capable of redefining reality itself. And so, the Elder Council, seeing the potential of the human race, extended an olive branch, not as rulers, but as allies. The age-old divide between humans and the other galactic species began to dissolve, replaced by a tentative cooperation. For the first time in history, the universe was no longer divided by borders of power. Instead, it was unified by an understanding that humanity was not the weak, insignificant species they had once been perceived to be. Now, they were something new, something much greater. Kiera stood at the threshold of this new reality, her heart heavy with the knowledge of what had been lost and gained. She had sacrificed everything to create this moment: her own sense of safety, the certainty of her life's work, and even the stability of her own mind. But as the energy from the Nexus infused the very universe, Kiera began to question whether what they had created was truly their destiny, or whether they had stumbled into this position because they simply refused to accept that something was impossible. Had humanity truly risen to become the stewards of the cosmos, or were they simply playing a part in a much larger game, one that they didn't fully understand? Kiera couldn't answer that question. No one could. The universe was no longer what it had been. It was something entirely different. And in the vastness of that uncertainty, humanity now found itself with the most important question of all: what now? The fabric of reality had shifted, and humanity had become part of that shift. There were no more absolutes, no more clear paths forward. Everything was a blur of potential. Every star, every planet, every piece of the universe was now within reach. Humanity was no longer waiting for permission from others to explore the unknown. They had transcended the limitations that had once confined them. They were no longer a species defined by the barriers of the impossible. They had created their own future. Standing at the edge of this new world, Kiera felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. The chaotic energy of the Nexus, the collapse of space-time, had irrevocably altered the course of history. But it had also given humanity a gift, one that Kiera had never fully understood until now. The gift wasn't just the power to reshape the universe. It was the realization that humanity had always been capable of more. They had only needed to believe in that potential, to let go of the need for control and embrace the unpredictable beauty of existence.